Good morning, dear friends, and welcome to the special day, the Aviation for All International Aviation Summit. Now, we're all here for two simple reasons. One, we all love aviation. We understand the value of aviation. We understand that aviation is an engine of growth. It's an incredible industry which brings the world together, which allows people to connect, which allows people to go on pilgrimage, to go on health visits, for families to unite, which actually creates millions of jobs. So we value aviation. And like all things in life, too often we value things after we've lost them. And then it's too late. Whether it's people, whether it's things, we kind of regret afterwards that, wow, we didn't really appreciate fully what we had. And in aviation, we actually had lost aviation for a little while during COVID. And that loss made people realize how essential aviation is. And most people were lost for a while, not being able to travel, to see friends, not be able to do business, a number of things which were, so it was a very difficult period of time. And we appreciated the value of aviation even more then. Afterwards, things were getting back to normal, and we had to keep reminding people of that time when we had lost aviation for them to realize the value. Because after you regain that momentum, you kind of forget that. You forget that we were in a state of, basically we were held almost prisoners in our own countries. Now the second reason why we're here, I don't think we've mastered the art of being able to say no to Kostas. So that's a special trait we don't have, so we are delighted to always accept his generous invitations for us to come together, and not just to celebrate, as we did yesterday for the International Civil Aviation Day and ICAO's 80th anniversary, and also today we are celebrating Kostas' own special day. But also it's an opportunity for us to interact, exchange views, and share. Like Hermes was designed to do, like this event is designed to do, allow us to actually connect with each other, share our own experiences, our own thoughts about where aviation is today and where we want it to be tomorrow. Because in this room, there's so much valuable experience, expertise, and it's wonderful to have an opportunity where, without wearing any formal hats, we're able just to exchange as friends, sharing a common love for a common industry. And that's the beauty of this today. This morning, right until lunchtime, we have an opportunity to hear a number of distinguished colleagues to actually share some thoughts and hear you also exchange on that. So it's a very informal and very interactive sessions we will have this morning. So without any further ado, I'm going to kindly ask us to move to the welcome address this morning by our dear friend Kostas Iatrou.
Good morning from my side. I would like to welcome you to the International Aviation Summit. This is the third edition of this summit. 2 years ago, with Mehmet, with Veling and others, we had the vision to establish the International Aviation Forum that was signed exactly on the 8th of December of 2022. And 2 years later, we are here, moving forward with more people on board, more organization on board, thanks to all of you. And this is a landmark day because we're going to sign later today the Declaration of Aviation for All that commit and bring us united together. And this is what we need as an industry. There are differences in our industry, but we need to be sure that we will work together to achieve what really aviation is offering to the societies. Then it's critical to pass the message. We have achieved a lot already. Then it's not we need to do more, but we need to promote what we do, and it's quite critical. Therefore, I would like to welcome you to this International Aviation Summit, and I would like to thank Athens International Airport, Ioanna and the team, Yanis Parasis for the sponsorship, and also Golder that also handling that our sponsor of this today's event, as also last year, 2 years ago. Again, welcome, and we will have the opportunity to talk more later in the panel and in the declaration I'm going to present to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kostas, and I'm a great pleasure to introduce another great friend of mine, Henrik Hololei, who's going to share a few welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Dear friends, first and foremost, Kostas, happy birthday. You have now entered the era of maturity. But of course, what you have accomplished, the pre-maturity era, is already something which some people never managed to accomplish, even in the end of their maturity. So we have already today seen the fantastic opening of the museum, which is bringing together a lot of your passion and your memories, and you have been so kind enough to share it with us with pride, and we are of course looking at it with great jealousy. And we all feel also that we have also a lot to contribute to your museum in the future.
You are part of the museum. All of you. Positively. I don't want to say that you are history.
You know that in this very short few minutes, I think Vijay and Kostas said already some very important points which I'm also about to echo. So if you give me the opportunity, I will do so. And of course, while celebrating Kostas is entering the age of maturity, we are also celebrating the 8 years of ICAO. And of course, that's a big achievement. But please forgive me if I'm making one comparison in the beginning. And well, it's a bit political, but it doesn't say anything about my political preferences. But if I look at ICAO, I also see two men which are 80 years old, who were just competing for the presidency of US. And one of them is a bit tired, doesn't really move on, still is able to speak, but not really being inspiring. The other one on the same age is moving like a 30-year-old, shouting and inspiring people in one way or the other. I think ICAO is today, in its 80 years, a little bit more like the first, not like the second. And that's why I also believe that there is a lot to do. But aviation for all, I think we are enjoying the experience that aviation gives us. People, of course, the opportunity to travel, the opportunity to be connected, the opportunity to see new places. And it is very, very logical that the aviation is there for all. But we need to ask also, is it? And is it taken for granted? So that's where Vijay already said that we experience times which people had to realize that the aviation is not there for granted. And also to keep on improving and to keep on fighting for aviation. In 5 years we have seen the hell and we have seen the heaven. And that's quite a lot in 5 years. But at the same time we are also in a very turbulent world. If you look back what the world was 5 years ago, it was very different than it is today. 5 years ago we were experiencing the best of times of civil aviation. Everybody in the aviation value chain were making profits, people were flying, everything was good. Then came COVID, everything stopped, everything was bad. We haven't seen such a good time in the history of civil aviation that we had in 2019, and we haven't seen such a bad time that we had in 2020 in the history of civil aviation. And now, I think we have a mixed bag. And I think this is extremely important to be kept in mind. Because aviation has many friends, but the friends don't speak enough. about aviation, and they don't speak up. And that is also what Kostas said, that it's also time to talk about aviation and not only let the experience. And those who talk are usually those who don't like aviation. While we say that it's great that we have the demand and people want to fly because they are today using their disposable income rather on flying than buying new boots because they were deprived of this experience. Then there are also those who are saying, well, that was a great time. The planes were not flying, there was no CO2 or contrails or what have you. And these voices haven't become too much quieter. That's why it is important to continue also to bring the positive narrative. But of course, it's also not only about talk. It is much more than that. And the friends of aviation do really need to come together and keep on reminding what is it all about and why it is so important to the world. Aviation has also, in addition to its enemies whom we know, has also a lot of challenges that they are currently facing. You know it better than I do, but the issues with the availability of aircraft has been an impediment for the growth. In Europe in particular, the challenges that we have in the ATM, and especially this summer, which was the worst of ever in terms of the delays, have not been improving. The enlargement of major airports is a huge challenge, and the airport capacity is going to become more and more scarcer in the future. The availability of pilots, the pilot shortages, even though it is such a great job to have, are still having an impact on the airlines. And of course, there is obviously the issue about sustainability, where more and more is demanded at the same time against the laws of nature, physics and chemistry. But that is also where the politicians have been listening too much of those who have been the non-friends of aviation and not enough those who are the friends of aviation. And that is also why it's important to get the message to the politicians. For any business, but particularly for aviation, a key element is the stability and predictability. And that is what we don't have at the global scale for the moment. I think we are living probably the most volatile and unpredictable times from the point of view of global stability. The crises are erupting almost every day, almost everywhere. And of course, for the moment, it has been keeping aviation still going. But we know that when there are more crises happening, it is also something which tends to impact aviation. We hope that's not going to be the case, but I think that all should be also very well aware what is going on. And of course, that creates the fragility, and of course, that is something which is not good for anyone, not good for people, and definitely not good for travel. But there is nothing we can do about it, and let's just hope that the world is getting back to a positive track, but it is difficult to see that. I think yesterday also Kostas said in one of his speeches that more or less it's the same what I'm saying, which is the butterfly moving the wings in one part of the world can very much have an impact in the other part of the world. That was in the context of COVID, but it is also in the context of any kind of military conflict or any kind of major regional crisis. Whenever it happens, wherever in the world, it will impact the whole world today because the world is so much connected. And I also would like to say a few words about the aviation organizations. I already, I think, made a bit of a comparison to ICAO, while congratulating, of course, the achievements of the last 80 years. But I think that the aviation organizations today are too much focused in the past. And the world is changing, and it is changing very, very fast. And I think that it is important to make sure that the aviation that they are representing is much more fit for the expectations that there are not only today, but also be able to understand what the expectations are for the future and what is changing the framework and the societies around us. Artificial intelligence, digital solutions, drones, they change the world more than anything that we have seen perhaps in the course of the last decade. And one needs to be ready for that, try to embrace it, try to internalize it, rather than this becoming a kind of a disruptor, which can be also having a negative impact on the industry. While talking about the conflicts, while talking about the changing world, unfortunately, one of the words which is, I think, one of the swear words in aviation is protectionism. Aviation has been striving whenever there have been markets open, whenever there have been new opportunities, and whenever there has been more opportunities to fly. Today, when we look at what the governments are doing, they are turning backwards. And hopefully this is not going to impact also on aviation. But at least on the European scale, I feel very much that the good era when we were pushing for opening up and negotiating historical agreements, including the EU as a comprehensive air transport agreement, the most comprehensive and far-reaching agreement in the world, connecting 1.2 billion people, this era is over. And I very much doubt that there will be any aviation agreement negotiated in the context of the next 5 years. But it's not only about Europe, and it is something that we see on the global scale. So let's also try to reap the benefits of what we have and hope that any of this is not going to be unraveled. And also, it is important that if we want that aviation remains for all, we need more to manage and lead the change, and also make sure aviation becomes fit for the changing future world. And we need to ask ourselves, is it? And can we continue to do things as we have done all the time? Or is this a moment where certain things have to be done differently? And you can do it. Aviation prides by outstanding personalities who are passionate, smart, engaging, inspiring. No sector has that pool of talent. I know what I'm talking about. I miss it every day, not being able to work closely with you. But we all need to step up. Aviation has to be considered cool and modern, not something that is too much relying on its glorious past and the fact that, well, you know, we are doing the good thing. We are the force of good, so everybody would understand it. In today's world, the thing is that nobody will take it for granted unless we step up also what we are saying. And it also needs a new narrative, and I think that was also what was said earlier. Challenge is the major force for innovation, and I hope we all can contribute to that. Challenge is a good thing, which has to be turned into something which we, the ones who love aviation, can bring this challenge to the benefit of aviation, and not something we will just say, too much of a challenge, let's continue doing things as we have. 8 years of international civil aviation rules-based framework is really something that is worth to be celebrated. But we need to look forward, and not what has been accomplished, but what we, the incredible sector, can in fact still accomplish. Yesterday evening, when Kostas kindly enough was driving us to our hotel, and we said, well, enjoy the last hour of 49, before 50, the new number. And Kostas said, well, I don't want to look back, I want to look forward. And I think that was very well said, because that applies to aviation. Whatever has been accomplished, don't look back. There is important time to look forward and look at the new opportunities that are also here with us. And aviation is ready. Aviation that is ready for future generations. I think this is also what aviation for all should mean. Good luck in accomplishing this. Thank you.